Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today we welcome back a friend of the channel, a fellow Australian that's now living in Silicon Valley, Naomi Brockwell. How you going, Naomi?
Pretty good. Yeah, things have been pretty fun over here, especially with the bull market. Crypto space is kind of going a bit crazy, so it's been a lot of fun.
It has, and you've just been to a fantastic conference. I watched the Edward Snowden talk from, I think was it just called Bitcoin 2019, the conference, or?
Yeah, so they do an annual conference, and they've done it, I think, since it started maybe 2014. I'm thinking, but don't hold me to that. But it's a Bitcoin centric conference. They hold it in San Francisco, and I got to MC it with Peter McCormack this year. And it was really fun, and yeah, as you said, Snowden spoke there, so that I can't, I can't even begin to describe to you my experience with that talk. I was fangirling so hard backstage when they told me that Edward Snowden was there. I was like, I'm emceeing your conference, whatever it takes, I'm there. I wanted to be involved in this, and then I'm backstage and they've got all the screens pulled up, like he's waiting there on Skype or whatever encrypted video chat they were using, and I'm sitting there just like, does he need someone to keep in company and chat with him while we wait? And they were like, no, Naomi, stay back. Don't do it. But no, fantastic talk. He talked about just the importance of privacy. And he mentioned, like, I know that Eric Voorhees fangirled a little bit too, because at the start he mentioned Shapeshift and Eric Voorhees and talked about how the governments, use private organizations and leverage their network in order to spy on people, and sort of talked about being aware of that sort of stuff, of your information being leaked when you think you're trusting just a normal organization. So just super interesting talk. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and for those that aren't aware, Shapeshift was a service and it was integrated into a lot of wallets where you could just swap your Bitcoin for Ethereum or Monero or anything. And the US sort of cracked down on that last year. And Eric was, really hard. What's the word? Hurt and disappointed by that
Well,
because
he was hurt and disappointed, and he was. He fought back. He really tried to fight this system. A lot of people gave him a lot of flack for this because they're like, "Oh, Shapeshift, you caved." And it's like, guys, when the government tells you to do something, you either give up your entire business and go John Galt, or you say, okay, And this is something that he's created. It's a fantastic service. It's still a fantastic service. Only now they have to have a KYC element to it, which is like every other organization in America that deals with money. So yeah, he was disappointed most of all that they had to change to this membership model. They were going to integrate memberships anyway, but they wanted to be voluntary. So if people wanted to have a membership, obviously there are perks to having a membership model. So if people wanted that, they would have allowed it. Otherwise, it was a site where you could just super easily go in, change things around, get out. And they actually just launched their new platform today. So they have the new membership models up and running. They have this CoinCap integration. They have hardware wallet integration. It works right off the back with Trezor, and their Keep Key ledger is coming soon. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. But Snowden, when he talked about Shapeshift, kind of pointed out, like, Shapeshift's a great example, putting pressure on these private organizations and trying to get information about people via companies and leveraging the information that these private companies have. So he said be mindful of this stuff whenever you're using any organization.
And that definitely leads into these FAF discussions that the G20 have been having. And it sort of makes you
Right.
wonder, when I go to Bali and exchange some money for the local currency, I can even I'm pretty sure you can do that anonymously under $10,000. But these days, they're forcing all the crypto exchanges to monitor every transaction and swap of one currency to another. When you withdraw, they want all the details like we have in the SWIFT system. So what are your thoughts on all this, and can they actually enforce it in the non-G20 countries?
I mean, it's a really good question. All of the travel rule with FAFTA, it's definitely burdensome in crypto, because crypto wasn't designed to be keeping all of this information. It's designed so that you don't have to divulge information. It's to protect people from things like identity theft, where you don't have to trust a company like Chase to keep your information safe. Yeah. Instead, you don't attach your name, you don't attach your address, you don't attach your number. And so the fact that all these people have entered the crypto system and haven't attached all this information, and now different exchanges are required to get it from everyone that they either receive crypto from or send crypto to. It's really burdensome on the system. You've seen in the last week, a lot of companies are hiring different analytic firms in order to comply with these regulations. So I think that stuff like that really slows down the ecosystem and slows down the flow of money. But I don't think that it's going to ever stop Bitcoin or crypto. I think that these things just make the exchanges between fiat and crypto a lot harder. And I think as we go along, we're going to see people staying more and more in the crypto ecosystem, and perhaps not even going through exchanges, just staying within cryptocurrencies or whatever. And of course, the travel rule applies to if you exchange between cryptocurrencies, but you have to go to an exchange to do that. If you're already in the crypto ecosystem and you haven't attached your identity, then I think they're going to have a hard time cracking down on a lot of the people who are already involved in the space.
Yeah, I think Snowden might have even said this in his talk, but they can only really crack down on the on-ramps and off-ramps. If you're in the ecosystem, these days you can control your destiny and your finances from your hardware wallet. It's integrated with a lot of these DeFi things where you can earn interest or take out a loan, move to a stable coin if you're worried about volatility. And you can do that yourself without an exchange.
But be careful of different like hardware wallets or interfaces, because these things aren't optimized for security. These are optimized for convenience a lot of the time, or they're optimized to just not be custodians. There are places, there's Coinbase who are custodians. There are other places that are not custodian. They're kind of optimizing for that differentiation. Just be aware that it's very easy to get your information, to pinpoint your IP address, to know who you are. So don't think you're flying under the radar. Don't think that you can get away from government. You should probably comply rather than going against government there. But you're absolutely right. The way that they control these things are the on-ramps and off-ramps. That's how they controlled online gambling. They pressured intermediaries. They pressured Visa and MasterCard and PayPal and all of those to stop access to gambling websites. So I think the same thing's going to happen with crypto if they start to crack down harder, which they may well do, as we're starting to see the patterns emerging since Libra was announced. So just be aware of all of that.
Yeah, and I want to get into Libra later on, but I did want to, you mentioned another great talk with Adam Back and another one of the OGs as well.
Yeah. So this is an interview that I was probably most proud of setting up. I organized to interview. I've interviewed Scott Stornetta before. He's the inventor of the early blockchain. He was cited. Over 50% of the citations in the white paper are of the work that Scott Stornetta did, mostly with his colleague Stuart Haber. But they developed the early blockchain, basically figured out how to timestamp documents in a digital world. That's super, super important. And anyway, I've interviewed him before, but I knew that he was going to be at Bitcoin 2019. So I organized to interview him again. And then I found out that Adam Back was going to be there. And I've been meaning to set up an interview with Adam for a long time. Every conference I see him at, it's like, Adam, time this conference, he's like, yeah, probably, and it never works out. So this time in advance I set that up, and then it ended up that I both got them around the same time that they were available. And then I asked, well, can you do the interview together? Because you guys make up over half the citations in the white paper. You really are the creators of a lot of the technology that is necessary for Bitcoin to have existed. Yes. Adam Back, obviously, he created Hashcash, which implemented the proof of work system. So, incredibly important. And then Scott Stornetta, as I said, the blockchain side. So they agreed to that. And then I'm thinking, why am I doing an interview in the green room out the back with these two incredible masterminds, and I could be doing it on the main stage? So I told the conference, do you want to get them on there? And they were like, absolutely, let's do whatever it takes. Yeah. So that was just an awesome interview, to just sit there and listen to them talk. Again, I think I was fangirling a bit, and I was like, here's a question, a bit nervous, because I'm just sitting there listening to them talk, and they're both coming from different perspectives. So Adam Back, obviously, he's the CEO of Blockstream now, very much interested in investing in the Bitcoin ecosystem and infrastructure, very much in the Bitcoin is everything camp. And then you've got Scott Stornetta, who's the other side. And he really believes that blockchain tech, it's a way to decentralize trust. This is going to be applied to corporations. This is going to be applied to all kinds of things. And we're going to probably end up with all kinds of competing currencies that are operating and interchanging under the hood. We won't even know what's happening. I tend to agree with Scott there, but both of them are just so smart. It was great hearing them discuss things. And the most interesting thing, I think, was when they got off stage, because this is the first time they'd ever met, which is kind of, crazy. They're both such prominent figures,
Yeah.
and there are only 8 citations in the white paper, and so you'd think that all the people there knew each other and all that, but this was the first time they met. So I had the privilege of introducing them to each other, and then afterwards, you could tell, like during the conversation on stage, I think it was hard for people to see because they weren't up close, but sitting there watching them, it was so clear, like the respect that each had for the other just when they were talking. But when they got off stage, they were both like chatting about all these things, and then following up and saying, "Oh, we should keep in contact." And so that was just a great moment to watch that.
When I was at the ETH conference in Sydney, one of the things that stood out to me was the fact that a lot of these people haven't met each other, as you said, and they just talked about how much work they get done when they're in the same room. And we forget that these people, a lot of them are pseudonymous or anonymous devs and all that sort of thing. So it's crazy when they get in the same room. But
it's really cool. The Bitcoin ecosystem and the crypto ecosystem is so interesting for that reason. A lot of us communicate online, and when you actually have conferences, there's this energy at a lot of them that is really nice. It's really hard to replace that online.
How is Adam? Is he happy with how Bitcoin's going, and is he really focused? Because a lot of people say, Blockstream is this corporation that's trying to control Bitcoin and put everyone in these centralized, controlled Lightning networks and so on. But I'm a believer that we do need to make Bitcoin more efficient and then make layer 2 solutions.
Well, I mean, I can't speak for what Adam believes about this, but having interviewed a lot of people at Blockstream and then a lot of people who are anti-Blockstream, you kind of get a very well-rounded perspective, or I like to think that I try to aim for one. I've definitely been exposed to a lot of different ideas, like chatting with people like Alan, I can never pronounce his last name, whatever. Anyway, he's head of product at Blockstream, and he talks about things like, for example, there are at least 4 different companies working on Lightning technology at the moment, and we kind of think, oh well, it's just one company that's controlling it all. Yeah, a lot of them are kind of working together and helping each other, as a lot of people in the ecosystem do, but there are at least four distinct companies working on this. Lightning Labs is one of them, Blockstream is another one of them, and so it's not really this centralized thing that we often think of. At the same time, I'm getting really annoyed at the crypto ecosystem these days, because every time I put out a video that talks to a Blockstream person, everyone from BCH is like, "You're a Blockstream shill, I'm unfollowed." And then, I'll put out something that interviews a BCH person, and all the Blockstream people are like, "Oh, you're a BCH shitcoiner, unfollowed." And then like a year later, 2 years later, they're still there. It's like, guys, just hurry up and do it. Like, just go ahead and unfollow it, because I'm so over having to deal with this. Clearly at this stage, BTC and BCH are different products. They're separate things now. We've established the facts. You're both correct. What you're saying about each one is correct. So go your separate ways. One of them is okay just as a store of value. One of them is okay as peer-to-peer cash. They don't want to be each other. So just go separate and call it quits, because this ongoing battle, the fact that you can't have a discussion in the space about what's actually going on in each camp without, people just sending ad hominems, it drives me batty.
Yeah, no, same here. They can do their own thing, and I'm a free market guy, so may the best one win. But it does my head in when people just are fighting and toxic and putting comments on, Anyway, let's.
And it's not even like best man win, right? It's they could coexist, and they are coexisting right now, and that's okay too. They have different use cases. I'm probably more likely to spend BCH than Bitcoin, just because I save money in terms of the fees attached to it. But at the end of the day, I want to hold some Bitcoin as well as BCH. I definitely don't want to put everything all into one camp, and it's okay for people to use different coins. It's all right, guys. There are people out there that like multiple currencies, and that is allowed.
Well, let's move on to another project that's been controversial, and that is Libra. And it's been spoken about to death, but I think even in the last week there's been a lot of new news come out. And in Australia, there was articles today saying that it's going to challenge the Australian banking system. There's another article saying that all cryptocurrencies need to be outlawed. So what do you think about all this?
Oh, all cryptocurrencies need to be outlawed. So what reasoning were they giving for that? Because there's this wonderful talk of Brad Sherman on the floor of Congress. He's a Democratic congressman over here, and it was about a month ago now. He spoke out and he said Bitcoin needs to be banned and we need to stop this because it jeopardizes US power and our ability to leverage that power to coerce other countries to do things. And, you know, it undermines the sovereignty of the United States banking infrastructure across the entire globe and the power. And everyone in Bitcoin is like, yeah, this is the best advertisement for Bitcoin we've ever seen because, yes, we don't want so much power in the hands of these centralized few. Yet someone like Brad Sherman is speaking out as if this is a terrible thing. And he's just openly saying it. He's just openly saying, yes, America wants to be able to control people. We do that through our banking system. We force, all oil trading, for example, to go through New York. We want to continue that. Bitcoin would undermine this ability. And so it's fascinating to me when politicians speak out about this and they call a spade. It's kind of like, whoa, I didn't expect that. I expected them to couch it in terms of like, oh, nefarious drug users, oh, sex trafficking, like whatever the recent FUD of the day is. But I didn't expect them to just come out and say it and talk about exactly what's going on, which is that the government is feeling threatened. It doesn't want its power challenged, and it's looking to stop the thing that's going to challenge that power. So I'm wondering if Australia, if they spoke out legitimately about this, or...
To me, it's a matter of if you are doing a good job and you have a good currency and store of value, then there's, why are you so afraid of something? And the fact that Bitcoin is such a good alternative, and a lot of these countries are looking to devalue their currency. Australia's been lowering interest rates and all that sort of thing. Right. It's sort of saying, well, we're forcing you to use our system and we want to devalue you, and people have an option to opt out of that now. And I think it's in the next few years, A, central bankers are going to have to acknowledge that Bitcoin's a threat, and B, it's going to actually have to change their policies.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we've got negative interest rates all across the world as well. Like it's crazy what's happening in finance, and the fact that we now have an alternative. Like before, money stopped at the borders, right? If you lived in a certain currency, you were obliged to use whatever sovereign currency they had issued, whatever fiat they had dictated. Well, this is the one we're going to use. And now there's a currency that can't be shut down. Before we've had lots of digital currencies. They've all been shut down because the government can shut it down. They didn't want competition. Finally, we have a digital currency that can't be shut down because it's decentralized enough. And, it's... Maybe they could censor the internet. They definitely are doing that in Australia. They want to do that more and more in America. But at the end of the day, this is a currency that has proven over the last 10 years to be incredibly resilient. And this is not going to go away anytime soon. So I think governments are getting really worried about that now that people do have a choice. And they're either going to have to pick up their game or get on board, or I don't know. But I'm really happy that finally individuals have a choice for their money, because we're just forced into this system that, it really destroys people's savings. It destroys people's livelihoods. It's not good. And now that people have a choice, that's such a great thing. And
Facebook has basically accelerated these conversations and the awareness.
Yeah. So Libra, I find this topic fascinating, and immediately had all these people in crypto who are like, oh, this is a shit coin, oh, this is stupid, whatever. I think that this is going to be one of the most fascinating things to happen in crypto in the next few years, because you have a company that has tremendous amount of resources, that really wants its currency to be launched, who's going to be going into battle against the government, because governments are threatened by this. And within hours of them releasing their white paper, you had, the French financial ministry saying this needs to be banned. We cannot allow this to happen. You had the central banks in Europe say we have to stop this. You had Maxine Waters immediately calling for a ban. Then just the other day, I think like 3 days ago, you had 4 representatives from government organizations write an open letter to Facebook saying, we formally request that you immediately halt any development on Libra. Countries around the world are really worried about this because they see this as a threat, and they should.
And
go ahead.
The tech companies have become too big. They've become bigger than government, and a lot of these corporations have as well. And what this is going to do is say, well, we've got, as you said, lawyers, money, we can fight you. And if we're not doing anything wrong by law, Facebook are going to prove that they're more powerful than, Congress and governments, and they're more powerful than the banks.
Well, at the end of the day, the government still has a monopoly of use on force.
Yes.
So government's still going to be more powerful, but it is going to be interesting to see things get shaken up. And what I'm most interested in is that, when you have the government monopoly on the money supply, there's no innovation or anything. It stops at the borders. If I want to pay someone back for a dinner in Australia, when I go back home to visit, I can't send it from my US account and just, send it through whatever quick systems I have in place for people here. The money stops at the borders. Libra, that money is not going to stop at the borders. That money is going to be super easy as going into your Messenger app, pressing on Facebook Cash or whatever the new implementation is going to be, and sending that directly across borders. Yeah. You think about that just from like an individual standpoint. You think about what that's going to do to like remittances. You think that what that's going to do to people, in third world countries or people who are living in countries working and sending money back home. I mean, that there is huge. What's more is you're probably going to get perks for using something like Libra. You're probably going to get percentages off for buying things within Facebook stores or with the partners. I mean, this is not an entirely Facebook coin. This is a MasterCard coin, a Visa coin, a PayPal coin, a Spotify coin, an Uber coin. So all of these companies are probably going to be using Libra and giving you a discount on their services for using it. And suddenly people are going to start to question, like, this is where it's exciting. Like, first of all, a disclaimer, I'm not going to recommend anyone use Libra. Like, it's going to track all your financial privacy. Facebook is in this business because they want your data. Yeah. I'm going to encourage people not to go near it. That being said, what's going to happen is it's going to get people, first of all, thinking differently about money, because this is not a money that is pegged to the US dollar. This is a money that's going to be pegged to a basket of assets, which is going to completely change the way people conceptualize money. Yeah. Second of all, it's going to change their perception of money because it's an organization issuing their own money. Before, we're in this parochial mindset of only governments can issue money. Then the next step is, well, now you've got organizations issuing money. And then the next step is any, sovereign individual will be able to issue money. It just changes the conception of what an individual can and can't do. And I love the fact that people will be doing that. And then the third thing that I think is really interesting about Libra is that people don't trust Facebook. And this is a great thing that Facebook is now getting involved in the business of money, because Facebook tracks all of our data and our likes, and they know exactly who we are, and they sell that data, and they've gotten into lots of strife and gone through all these hearings in the US about all of this. And people are angry about it. They don't want their data stolen. But wait a second. Chase Morgan and Citibank and Visa and MasterCard, they've been selling your data for forever. That is part of their business model, is taking your financial data and selling that. And no one talks about it. No one is up in arms. No one thinks twice about using that bit of plastic in their wallet to go and purchase something. Yeah. So if Facebook now takes on the role of issuing money and dealing in financial transactions, I hope that this gets people talking about why financial privacy is important. I hope they rally against Facebook and say, don't take our data. And I hope people start to understand how important financial privacy is and why we should be insisting on it, not just with Facebook, but with, these credit card companies, with the US government that is ordering these companies to take all of our personal information through KYC laws. KYC didn't exist the way it does like 50 years ago. You didn't have to even often give an ID to open a bank account. Things have completely changed, and we take it for granted that all this personal information needs to be divulged. And I think that we should start questioning the efficacy of these strategies of government, and questioning what they actually gain from this, because they're not really stopping bad things from happening. That's proven time and time again. Yeah. But they are collecting a whole lot of data on us that's very helpful to them. And I think we really need to be questioning that more.
And the final question I wanted to ask you was about encryption. So obviously Australia believe that somehow they're above math and software, and they're trying to ban encryption. Right. But there's is it a bill that's introduced, or has this just been floated that they want to do this in the US?
Yeah, it's just been, the White House has just been talking about this, and Trump administration is talking about potentially ending end-to-end encryption in America as well, which, I mean, this is just a disaster. We fought this battle before, and the cypherpunks won. This happened through the 90s, yes. And it was proven, you can't ban this stuff. This is not an espionage tool. The world didn't collapse when we had encryption on the internet, and what that enabled was us to have purchases on the internet, do all of the things these days that we enjoy on the internet. The internet would not exist if it weren't for not exist as we know it if it weren't for encryption.
Yeah.
And now the government's gone full circle and they're back there wanting to fight the same battle again. And I just hope that there are more cypherpunks out there who are going to fight back, because it will be a disaster if they did that.
Well, I mean, you're in Silicon Valley, and the tech giants run Wall Street. They're the most influential companies, most important companies now to the economy. If that's all going to move to Malta or somewhere, if they ban encryption.
It's going to be a disaster on so many fronts. It's going to be disaster to people's individual privacy. I mean, if the government can access a backdoor, that means that any hacker can access a backdoor there. You're just making information easier and easier to get. You're not protecting anyone at that stage. So, and also it's just such a huge intrusion. I personally believe that individuals have the right to privacy and to ensuring their privacy and using technological tools to ensure that privacy. And if that starts being undercut, that's a really scary Orwellian world that we're living in there.
That's probably a good place to finish. I'll put the links to
Orwellian world. Dun, dun, dun.
I'll put the links to all your stuff below, Naomi. But any final thoughts for people at home? Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, no, final thought would just be, this has kind of been like a downer conversation about surveillance and all that.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I'm super excited about where crypto's heading at the moment. I see so much innovation on the privacy front, on the decentralization front, and just new financial tools that people are developing. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen, and look forward to reaping the benefits of all these awesome tools that other people are creating.
Yeah, it's never been more exciting to be in crypto at the moment, I believe. So, yeah.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us.